Alex, let's just end with this an update on what's going on in Wales.
We have, and the people should find this on publicchildprotectionwales.org, but it's a press release that Lou Collins of Liberty Tactics tipped me off to last night. For those who haven't been following the backstory, it's about the sexualization of children. I promise an article, I can't promise a date, but there's so much to report on the legal outcome of this judicial review. Let's just whiz through this. A judicial review doesn't have cross-examination or oral evidence, so it was 2 days. Paul Diamond was the barrister who represented the 5,000 people, summarised by 5 petitioners, for this judicial review, and really conducted himself magnificently. No solicitor or pre-trial lawyer could be found in the whole of Wales to take this on. It was too hot. But Darren has been on the team and has given Liberty Tactics the key interview, which I got most of the interesting details from, and people will find that link there. But in layman's terms, it became clear in the judicial review, because people bothered to raise funds and turn up, it became clear that the Welsh Government had overstepped the mark, and all the people who are sniffing, this is only Muslims who won't adapt to our way of life, or have you read the curriculum? There's nothing in there about sexualising 3-year-olds. This is what the judicial review flushed out. The Welsh Government had no benchmarks, the curriculum hadn't been written, and they were just leaving it to UNESCO to set the detail. And that was exactly the point of the judicial review. The written verdict, of course, will take some weeks to come out. And on the second day, the Welsh Government defended itself, and they did a very sheepish and poor job, made some extraordinary claims, the key one of which was that until human rights legislation of our generation, parents never had any rights to decide what their children were taught at school. This is how far gone the thinking has gone now in the Welsh Government and other devolved administrations, and in England too. The Welsh Government will be continuing to ignore its will at the will of the people, says PCP Wales, but it's done us an indirect favour by putting these statements on record for the public, which is a key thing about judicial review. This is now English case law, whatever happens. They go on to say that the closive proceedings allowed Paul Diamond, for the petitioners representing the Welsh mothers, to refute the government's claims of misinformation. You'll recall a whole think tank was set up to call everyone right-wing extremists who were concerned about this in Wales. And the whole school approach, the lack of parental choice, gender ideology and queer theory, this has all been read into the record. And the final part of the slide is particularly of interest to those in the legal fraternity who are wondering whether and wrestling with their conscience, should I step up to the plate in such cases? Well, you should, because as they correctly write in the final heading of the PCP Wales press summary, we won the day we stood up. We changed the world the day we stood together. And you can, quite literally, like Mr. Paul Diamond, the barrister here, you can walk out of court to a hero's welcome, while the government side literally file out the back sheepishly, getting booed by the crowd. If only you'll do your duty, you will be amazed how much support the public will have for you. And I think that takes us on to Anne finally, doesn't it? A couple of memes here. Here is Dr. Tedros of the World Health Organization changing his tune in a satire variant, of course. In May, he's saying the jab offers you 95% protection. In June, he says 70% protection. In July, 50% protection. In August, he says it doesn't protect you, but it reduces the spread. In September, he says, well, it doesn't actually reduce the spread either, but it does reduce the severity of the symptoms. In October, he says it doesn't reduce the severity of the symptoms, but it does reduce hospitalizations. That's to protect the NHS. In November, it doesn't reduce hospitalizations either, but it means you're not going to die. And the prediction is that next month, Dr. Tedros will say, you die if you take the jab, but you do go to heaven. And one more, which is the ever beloved Bob Moran in a new format. He's continuing his ordinary Twitter and Telegram platform as Bob Moran. But look, he's also involved in notourfuture.org, where he's calling upon people to sign a pledge against digital future, which we've been covering through a digital identity. We've been covering the whole of this episode. So here we are, the future, unless you break through the wall into the sunlit uplands, is quarantine cages, stay safe messages, 2 hours to curfew warnings, social credit bank, queues for the Southern Fried Crickets stall, and people being herded into the test and jab pod. Well, I'd be with the family whose father has done what men do, and Bob likes to encourage men to be men in his cartoons. He's taken a sledgehammer and he's busted a hole through the wall.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Alex.
Yeah, excellent. Well, a good point to end on. And yes, can we also emphasise the tremendous work that the ladies in Wales have done to stand up against this appalling religious and sex education. And I'm quite sure if more mums and dads across the country really understood what's coming, and of course most of the origins of that education have come from the UN, but if they knew about it, they would also be standing up. So we'll ask our viewers and listeners to help us spread the word.
Back in a couple of minutes for some extra.
Okay, we will see you then. Thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.